All right, hello and welcome everyone to another episode of All Things Real Estate. And as always, I am your host, Kyle Seyboth with Century 21 Real Estate, and we are super excited. Like normal, we have a special guest. What we've been trying to do in the last few weeks is really look at guests from different lines of work, different entrepreneurs, different people all over the state of Rhode Island and Mass. So today we kind of stepped out of the real estate box, but kept it within the circle of real estate. And today we have Yudelka Rodriguez of ProvTrust.
Yes.
Right? ProvTrust Insurance. And I don't think I've had an insurance person on here yet. And I think it's important because when you buy a house, when you buy a car, if you're actually living, all those three things, you need some sort of insurance, right? Whether it's health insurance, life insurance, auto insurance, house insurance, right? Mm-hmm. You need all that stuff. So on our end, on the real estate side, my job is to help a client buy or sell real estate, okay? If I'm a buyer, why do I need insurance? If I'm buying a house, why do I need it? What's the point?
What's the point of insurance? Mm-hmm. The point of insurance is just in case something happens to that investment. Mm-hmm. You're investing $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Sometimes people buy their first home with their lifetime savings. And why not insure it the proper way? Why not buy insurance? And why not get the correct coverage for your investment?
So I'm going to buy a house. Let's talk about a couple scenarios. I think this is actually really good. I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to use financing. I'm going to do what's called the FHA loan, right? So I'm going to finance 96.5% of the house. Let's just do quick numbers. I buy a $200,000 house, right? So that means I'm going to finance $192,500, right? So the rest the bank's on the hook for. How much insurance would you tell me to get? Like, how does it work? Do I go to you and say, hey, I want to have insurance for $192,000, or how do you do it? What do you guys do?
That's a good question because I get that all the time. Mm-hmm. So I work 90% of my clients, I penetrate the Hispanic community. Mm-hmm. So I like to educate my clients. So when I have a client buy a property for $200,000, even though if it's a flip or if it's a FHA or a conventional, you can't go by the amount of the actual cash value, the amount of the price that you're purchasing it for. Why? Because let's say the house is a total loss. What happens?
You got to rebuild it.
You got to rebuild it.
You can't rebuild it for that amount.
You can't rebuild it for that amount. So I suggest my clients to actually have a replacement cost policy, meaning that the value of the home, what it takes to replace it, that's the amount of insurance you're going to get.
So doing this all the time, right? So I know what you're talking about. So you've got replacement cost insurance, right?
Yes.
You can get insurance for replacement cost, or you can get cash value.
Yes.
Right? So cash value is if I buy for $200, mm-hmm. I'm going to insure for $200.
Yes.
And then if the house burns down, the insurance company's going to give me anywhere between $0 and $200,000.
Now, what people don't know is that, for instance, you're an investor and you buy a 3-family house for $300,000 because you got a deal.
Yeah.
But the replacement cost for that property is $700,000.
That's the point.
Let's say, if you have a loss, being that you're an investor, and that property is not insured up to 80% of that replacement value, there's something called coin insurance. There's something called coin insurance, and what that means is that you could get penalized. Not only will you'll get underpaid on your claim, but you could get penalized for not having the correct coverage. And then you're going to come back to your agent. And then we agents have E&O. We have to properly inform you. So you're going to penalize and you're going to sue us. So it's a process.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. So so the one thing I don't understand though, that replacement cost, dude, that number's crazy. Like if I own a bunch of units, right? So when I look at what my insurance is for, the number of what I owe on the property and the replacement cost, the spread could be $400,000.
Now let me tell you this. I kind of work around that, especially FHA guidelines per FHA guidelines, per bank guidelines, you have to have replacement costs to buy the property, even though that you change it down the line a year later. Now, there's this other insurance that allows you, not many companies do this, but allows you to put a clause incorporated into the policy. So let me explain, for instance, you buy a property for $400,000, but the replacement cost is $600,000. You can insure it for $450,000. And put a clause in there, meaning a repair cost value, meaning if you have a claim and they pay you out for a claim, you won't get depreciated, because that's the thing of actual cash value policies. You get depreciation on each and every claim. So if you have a $20,000 claim for a fire and you have an actual cash value policy, you get depreciated from an 8 to 12 to 17% out of that payout, versus you having a repair cost policy, that little clause, you don't get depreciated. So it gets treated like a replacement cost, but your actual house won't get rebuilt. You get what I'm saying? So
I'm trying to follow you, yeah. I'm trying to follow the depreciation part.
So you're paying
above cash value, but below replacement cost, but you're adding a clause for $50K for what?
It costs, like, for instance, one of the carriers that I have, it takes $75 for a year to have that special clause in there saying if this person has a loss, you can't depreciate out of the payout, because they have depreciate the amount that they pay out.
So give me a real world example. So real world, right? So house burns down, I've got insurance up to $400, right? Boom, and you have that little clause in there. What are you giving me as the owner?
If you have actual cash value,
yes,
they'll depreciate. The percentages vary, but they will depreciate, let's say, a 7% out of that. So that's how much you get paid out.
So I'll get $400 minus 7%.
Minus 7%.
So I would give whatever that is.
And then you're stuck with the loan paying still. You get what I'm saying? But if you have that repair cost clause inside that policy, you'll get the $400,000.
Okay. So that's why you would do it.
Yes.
Now, if I'm an investor, right, and I deal with this a lot, if I'm an investor, I'm going to go flip a property. It's fully vacant, right? Would you recommend someone to get builder's risk policy? Like, what kind of policy do you tell your investors to do if you work with them?
I work with a lot of investors, and I love them, and they're my headache.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why you guys wait to the closing table to be like, I need a binder.
Right. Absolutely.
Actually, it depends how big of a project you're taking on. If you buy a property for $200,000 and you're investing 50, 90, 100K, then I'll say get a vacant policy incorporating builder's risk in there.
That's what I meant. So it's a vacant policy.
It's a vacant property, and then,
you add the builder's risk, and then you also can add the liability too, right?
Yes. So right now I have a new Vacant Express program, which if you are building a house for less than $500,000, I could give you a binder and a binded policy in less than 5 minutes. If you're doing a vacant, you're purchasing a vacant for a flip, I could give you a policy and a binder in less than 5 minutes. 3, 6, 12 month period of policy.
What do you recommend, 6 or 12?
I ask always, what are your future intentions with the property? Are you going to stay with it? Are you going to sell it? No, sell it. So now that the market is hot, if it's not a big project, 3 months. If
3 months?
3 months.
Wow, that's fast.
That's fast.
So what if the 3 months comes up and they're not done?
We'll just renew for 3 more months.
For 3 months. What's your average? Let's just do quick numbers. Like your average, when you have a buyer, right, an investor, he comes in and he's like, hey man, I'm buying this thing for $150. I'm buying it cash. Like, what does that builder's risk look like on your end? Couple $100?
Actually, I just did one on Friday, and she was buying for $215, and she was investing $30K in it.
Yeah.
It was $489 for 3 months.
Yeah, that's what I mean. $500 for 3 months.
That's it.
$150
And it's the liability. It's in there as well. Vacant properties are one of the most expensive insurance.
They are. They're wicked expensive.
And I have friends that are investors, and I have clients that are investors, and I know how you guys hustle and try to extend every dollar as much as you can. So why not, be like, okay, let me present this idea, or you want the $3,000 policy for better protection. I'm just going to sell it, so why not go with the option A?
So now on that note, right, so vacant house, pipes freeze. What's up? What happens?
You have no coverage.
Nothing, right?
No.
You can't fight that at all. So pipes freeze, it ruins the house.
Now, it depends, like I said, because a policy has so many changes, endorsements that you could actually put in there, incorporate it into the policy. And it makes it cheaper that way.
Can you add an endorsement for
The thing is that vacant policies fall under a category that's called DP1, Dwelling Fire 1. Why? Because it's only a couple of named perils that it covers: fire, theft, and vandalism.
covers theft too? Mm-hmm. So if someone comes in and vandalizes the
You
whole
could add that, yeah, fire, theft, vandalism, and any weather-related. But it gets treated, vacant properties gets treated as actual cash value policies.
Yeah, they're cash value, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so someone goes in, steals all the boilers, steals the hot water tanks, breaks in, so the insurance company, you could put a claim over that?
You could put a claim if you actually ask your agent or whoever you do the policy with, hey, I need theft included. If you don't let them know, they'll just give you dwelling and vandalism,
Yeah.
and that's it. Me, I know the property is going to be vacant, I just throw it in there.
You should. How much can that be?
That's probably $50.
$50? Yeah, I mean, it's
For the
silly.
whole year.
It's silly not to have that in there.
It's not.
Especially in some of the areas that we're in, right? We're doing these renovations, there's no one around, it's dark, it's late, it's cold, people are breaking in, whatever. You know what I mean? I think that's important. What would you say is the biggest mistake that people make when they're using insurance? The biggest mistake.
When they buy insurance?
When they buy it or when people sell it? Like competitors of yours, when they sell it, and then when people buy it. Like I'm a regular homeowner, I want to buy it. What's my biggest mistake?
I have a saying in Spanish that I say, lo barato sale caro, meaning the cheapest insurance would be the most expensive insurance. You get what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right? It's like I have a lot saying, I want it cheaper. I want the cheapest. I can't. You know why? And this is going to answer your two questions, because if I sell you a policy at the cheapest, I'm taking coverage away that in the day that you have a claim, who's going to have a headache? I'm
You.
going to feel bad because I care for my clients.
You, yeah.
I'm going to be like, I sold you that.
Right.
And we as agents and realtors, we take what's called the continuing education, right? And in our continuing education, we get a lot of things saying that, talking about ethics,
Yeah.
right? It's a number one thing for insurance agents. They push that we take these ethic course, and that's bringing it to that.
Buyer.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
So buyers definitely want the cheapest coverage, right? All the time, they definitely want the cheapest. Here's the other thing. A lot of
Because
times
they're not educated.
They're not educated, but a lot of times, right? The buyer needs the coverage to be cheap to qualify.
Exactly. So
That's another piece of it.
At that point, which most of my clients, more than 60% of my clients are first-time home buyers.
Right.
And when that income to ratio is kind of off, the only place that they could play around is with the insurance. So I'm like, okay, so I kind of play around with it, and I actually tell the client, hey, we're gonna sell you this policy. This is still a good policy, but at renewal, I would like to requote you, revise, and get you into what I have to offer. And let me tell you, Kyle, that the difference between being at $1,300 and being at $1,100, if you take those $200 and divide it into 12, it's not a big of a difference.
Nothing. It's $20
but
a month.
For the loan to close, it's a lot.
Yeah, and one thing we don't have a ton of time, but I think you're right. I think a lot of people look at it and say, I just want the cheapest coverage. Nothing's ever going to happen. And then when something happens, they're screaming at you.
They are.
Because they're like, you gave me this, you didn't give me that.
When someone
so I think that's the part that like you have to make sure that you educate them. How long does it take you, real quick? If I come into you and meet with you about insurance policy, how often do you really go through the whole thing?
What do you mean the whole thing?
Like I sit there and we read it. We read every page. Be real.
Look, Kyle, 99.9% of clients don't read policy jackets.
And what's that? The first page?
That's, you know that you get your insurance, right?
Yeah.
So the first 2 pages are the
nobody-
declaration page, but
Yeah.
then you have like 68 pages.
Right.
I have almost 16 years in the business, and for the companies that I represent, I have read the policy jackets. And I could tell you, for instance, people don't know, let's say that you have a leak in your tub, right? And usually the leaks in the tub comes off the faucet, right? You'd be like, oh, I'm gonna take care of this, but you haven't noticed that that leak has gone into your first level kitchen or whatever. And then you have mold. But you changed the faucet, you replaced it with the new one and threw the old one out. So at the time that you wanna put in a claim, the company's gonna be like, where's the faucet? You know, so I tell my clients every time that something happens, that's why I have a cell phone. Text me anytime. You know, I had a fire at 4 o'clock in the morning at the beginning when I opened up my agency and I was there. Let me know because I could guide you. I am not claim services, I'm not claims department, but the years of experience, I could guide you. And because of that little incident that he threw away that, it's like, okay, it's maintenance now. It's been there. Like, how can you prove to us that this is, you know, that it happened?
So I think this was great. I think this was educational. It helped people out, added a ton of value. So I want to say thank you for coming out.
Thank you
good
for having
job.
me.
You crushed it. And hopefully everybody learned something on insurance today. And hopefully we will see you all next week. Everyone have a great day. Thank you so much.